this whole concept of boots on the ground, we've got a phobia about boots on the ground. If our military experts say we need boots on the ground, we should put boots on the ground and recognize there will be boots on the ground, and they'll be over here, and they'll be their boots if we don't get them out of there now.
All right, that was Dr. Ben Carson earlier tonight at the 5th GOP debate. The 2016 Republican candidate joins us with reaction. Dr. Carson, good to see you.
Good to see you.
I've actually had very frank conversations with you about how, and you've agreed with me, that the debate format is probably not your best form, but I thought this was your best debate tonight. I thought you showed a lot of energy. You seemed very comfortable up there. Did you feel different tonight?
Yeah, well, each one of the debates gets a little bit easier. You feel more comfortable with the format. So I think by the time we get to the end of them, I'll be rocking.
All right, I'll take that as you were happy up there. One of the things that really stood out to me is, and I thought you had a really good answer at 2 different points about one being a citizen statesman and how our country was designed, and more importantly, and I guess this is a tough question. If you're going to be a commander-in-chief, the odds are that you're going to have to make a call that will kill people. And I want you to go into a little bit more detail, because this is a dangerous world full of lots of evil. We lost 100 million souls in the last century alone. We have evil in the form of ISIS today. Tell us what would go through your mind in factoring in a decision where you're going to have to take lives.
Well, you always do, or at least I always do, a best-worst analysis. I ask 4 questions. What's the best thing that happens if I do this? What's the worst thing that happens if I do this? What's the best thing that happens if I don't do this? And what's the worst thing that happens if I don't do this? And when you answer those, you can come out with the best choice. And sometimes there's not a perfect choice. There's not a choice that says everything's going to be rosy and nobody's going to be hurt. But there is a choice that says the least number of people will be hurt in this scenario.
There were 2 things you said tonight: that you want to declare war and defeat the caliphate. Do you think most people are understanding of what the caliphate means?
I think a lot of people understand it. I mean, clearly, it's a major part of Islam, and particularly radical Islam, the jihadist movement. Jihad globally cannot occur unless you have a caliph, and you can't have a caliph unless you have a caliphate, which is actual territory. The last time they had that was in Turkey. That was finished in 1924. So this is an exciting time for them. And, we really need to concentrate on taking that away from them. If they don't have that, they go back to square one. That's where we want them, at square one.
Yeah. It's very interesting. I had Nigel Farage, European Member of Parliament, on my radio show earlier today. And he talked about in Great Britain, of all places, where I think Europe is one example how in Europe I think they have gone to great lengths to accommodate not assimilation, but separation, if you will. And in Great Britain, I didn't know, there were 85 separate Sharia courts. 80% of Muslims in Great Britain are not recognized as marriages when they get married, because it is done within their own circles. He says the no-go zones are real, but 85 Sharia courts separate and apart from. What does that tell us about people that come from very different cultures than ours, and this big cultural divide? If you grow up under Sharia law, are you here to assimilate, or are you coming to bring your values with you? How important a factor is that when we talk about the Syrian refugees or immigration?
It's a huge factor. A few years back, the Australian Prime Minister, they were having quite a problem with refugees coming in. And he finally pulled a Teddy Roosevelt on them. In 1907, Teddy Roosevelt said, we welcome people from any part of the world. If they want to come here, and if they want to be Americans, if they want to assimilate. They're not welcome if they don't want to be. And that's because we have a culture of our own that we want to preserve. There is nothing wrong with that. If they don't like our culture, they don't need to come. I don't think that's mean. I think that's just self-preservation.
How do you ascertain that?
I think you have to look at the pattern. If 10,000 people come in from a certain place and 9,500 of them assimilate and the other 5 don't, that says one thing. But if 5,000 of them don't simulate and 5,000 do, that's a very different thing. And you have to begin to look at who's coming from that part of the world and how you're going to treat them.
I found your answer tonight. Another thing is, as the debate was moving on and you were debating the issue of whether or not there are rebels that can be supported in some of these conflicts or some dictators, you said something that I know a lot of American people agree with and it resonates with people, and that is we've got to fix America first, I think was the exact words you used.
Absolutely. I mean, could we go around? There's a lot of problems in the world to solve. There's no question about that. And we can spend all of our time, energy, and money solving those problems. But I think, we got an awful lot of problems in this country right now. And, we've got millions of people living in poverty. We've got all this hatred going on and division. We've got some severe economic issues that are going to affect everybody in our society. If we dealt with those things, and if we strengthen our military, and if we create a much better relationship between our allies, it strengthens us and makes it possible for us to solve those problems around the world much more readily.
In other words, if we solve our own problems first, we'll be stronger and better able to help around the world. Good point.
Exactly.
Dr. Carson, I thought a very good night for you. Congratulations. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Sean. Good to be with you.
And coming up, our panel weighs in on the most talked about moments from tonight's Republican debate in Vegas. Plus, we'll also hear from Senator Rand Paul, Governor John Kasich, and former Governor Mike Huckabee on the special edition of Hannity.